This is the Pro Wrestling Reflection Podcast with your host, the Professor Chalbelo Veracruz.
What a run!
Mr. Wonderful Tommy Wonder.
And I will take the powers of those that have no fear!
And the prodigal one, JB.
The queen, the cream of the crop.
Now it's time to go back in time in the time machine.
The American dream! Dusty Rhodes! Sweet!
The living legend, Bruno Sammartino.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man. Woo! Look at this. He's I don't believe it.
Simp and the ladies, the kind of man you...
What's going on there, Reflection Nights? What is going on there to the Beatoites, the Halloween Nights? Well, especially the Halloween Nights because, it's been like 2 weeks and, we here at the PWR Podcast is congratulating the exalted ruler himself with the 700 wives, Ben Amin, who has opened a cannabis dispensary. What's the word? Dispensary? What the fuck is
dispensary?
There we go. Dispensary. I'm already high right now. I haven't smoked any shit. So, a cannabis dispensary, Ravens Joint in Clayton, New York. Congratulations to Ben Amin. Maybe the PWR Podcast gets a buy one, get one free. I don't know. Or maybe with the PWR Podcast, use the hashtag Reflection Nights and get a deal with Ben Amin. But, Ben Amin might have to give me a $5 side because if I'm giving him deals already, he already opened a store. I'm just saying, trying to help out, Ben. I'm just trying to help out. But anyway, welcome to the PWR Podcast here at the Hameen Media Group at Podbean.com. Welcome to episode 182. Donnie, we're getting close. I know you're counting them with me. Every time you're binging, you're waiting for the number. Because I know Donnie. Donnie, you're like this. God damn it, a spotlight. God damn it, a what if. God damn it, what the hell is this debate show? You're messing with my numbers. I'm not messing with your numbers. Again, this is what the PWR does. We have, certain platforms. We have certain types of shows I got to do for y'all. But anyway, we're going episodic for Donnie Day 1, 182, 18 away from the elusive 200. But before we even get into episodic episodes here, I must introduce myself because I am vain like that. I must introduce myself because, I'm getting older as the day goes by. I gotta get the grays out of my hair. I gotta get the grays out of my chin. I gotta get the grays out of my pubes. Neither here nor there, but I am the effervescent one. Don't give me that face, man. Don't do that face. It's true.
About four dudes just slid out of your DMs because you said you had gray pubes. They're out now. You just cost yourself some D.
They don't slide to me. They slide to you, and I don't have to explain myself. Maybe I should explain how I know they slide into your DMs more than mine. Anyway, hint, there was a hotel room. But I neither here nor there. I am the effervescent one. I am the custodial one. I am the affluent one. But most importantly, I am the glorious one. The only objective man in this IWC, YWC, PWC punditry. The only objective man in this political hemisphere. The only objective man in this entertainment world. The Professor Chalbelo Cruz. And I'm not here alone. No. I'm here with my brother from another mother. The conservative liberal. The liberal conservative. Dum-dum doing its own. The iron stomach one. Dr. Frickenstein. Mr. Wonderful. Mr. Effervescent. Mr. Detroit himself. Woo! Tommy Wonder, how you doing, my friend?
Old and tired as always, and daylight savings time. Which, by the way, the last I heard a year ago, we weren't doing it anymore in the Midwest, but yet we've done it twice since I heard that. The falling back, I dig it. Even since I was a little kid of 19 years old, I knew it gave me an extra hour of bar time. And as an adult, I still have that mentality, even though I'm not necessarily at the bar on the night that it happens. But this spring forward, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. It's amazing what an hour can do to you on a Sunday. It didn't help that I didn't go to bed till 6:30 a.m., which was really 5:30 a.m., which would have probably still ruined my day. And Sunday, I slept so much. My kids ditched me for tacos with their mom, And I remember waking up at 7.
Is it getting that bad that even daylight savings time is now political with ideologies? I think now blue states are daylight savings, yay, and then red states is daylight savings, nay, or whatever the case may be.
I'm in a blue state and I'm a nay. Just so you know, I'm
not saying I agree with it either. You know, I like an hour. I need my hour. I'm with you. I like my hour, but I don't want to get it political. I don't care. You know,
right?
Again,
for me, that wasn't a political statement, but I would tell you as a kid.
No. I'm just saying it's just funny that it has become political. I don't know why.
I don't like. So like, there's a logic in why they say in the Midwest why we did it is to give the hour of daylight to the farmers, right? And I've always thought, well, just work an hour later, like, but. How fair is that? Like, if it's 9 to 5 for everybody, it should be 9 to 5 for the farmers. If they're out there at 6 o'clock, it's dark as piss, right? So when you fall back, that's why they fall back. Springing forward is because now you got the reverse problem. If you don't spring forward, it gets early or it gets bright too early. So that's why they spring forward. But what I was explained as a kid in Detroit, Rock City, I waited at a school bus stop every morning, right? And that daylight, that falling back and that springing forward, for whatever reason, it always happened at a time where it was normally daylight when we waited for that bus. And then all of a sudden it was dark. And right when it was dark, we fell back. Right. And that way it was light when we went to the bus stop. And then again, the springing forward is to rebalance it because otherwise it would be dark sooner. Right, so in
layman's terms, you don't want to get jacked. You don't want to get robbed in the dark.
You don't want kids waiting at the bus stop in the dark.
So put an hour ahead for the kids.
And I accepted that. I accepted that, but now that I'm older, I drive Tuesdays and Thursdays to Auburn Hills from my house in Warren. It's a 35-mile ride, 31 to 35-mile ride. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I see kids waiting for the school bus in the dark. Now tomorrow, when I drive in, it probably will be light when they're out there waiting for it. But it used to be. Like I tell you, for the last month or at least, it's been dark and cold, and they're waiting for that bus. But that leads me to another question, Professor.
What's that?
Most of these school buses I see around here would tell you that these kids are going to a school around here, right? Why is it every day I pull up and there's a car sitting there running with somebody with their kid in the car who's waiting for the bus to show up, and then the kid gets out of the car to get on the bus, and then that car drives away? Why wouldn't they just take the kid to school? Why are they driving them and sitting at the bus stop and then leaving and going to the bus stop?
Do you not know the hustle? Do you not know the hustle?
The only thing I can think of is they need to get to school earlier or later than they need to get to work. So the bus is earlier, so they drop them off the bus and they still got time to make it to work. But it's just weird to me. And some of them, are housewives who just drove their kid at the bus stop and then went their ass back home.
See what it is here, and I've experienced this reflection ice is because I used to be the side dude for the married woman. So the married woman needed a hook. So
the guy had a wife and then he had you. I got you. I followed.
Right. So yes, I did. But anyway,
the guy had a wife.
I know what you said, and I know what you said.
This is the most honest you've ever been.
Does that mean I agree with you? Hell no. But anyway, neither here nor there. But anyway. Because the hustle is for the married woman, they had to play the role. So daylight savings time actually helped for the child and for me. So this way we can keep our covers, so we can get that going. But anyway, neither here nor there. That's what it is.
You guys do it under the covers?
No, God damn it!
Oh, you didn't know that?
Get your head out of the gutter. Get your head out of the gutter, man. Mr. Hotel Room with the.
It's 2024. You guys are running the world. It's all right.
No, tell that to John Cena. But anyway, neither here nor there. But
I didn't get the reference.
Oh, you didn't watch the Oscars a couple of days ago.
He's Hercules for money.
Well, he was butt naked. But neither here nor there. The Hollywood curse lives on. But anyway, welcome to the PWR podcast. And it doesn't matter because A-Track Brown, the slowest motherfucker, ain't gonna put up the videos just yet. But TW is holding up a Pop'em's Kane edition. Very special one, right?
Sold out. Fanatic U exclusive, and the Undertaker one sold out without me even knowing it was there. So I had to buy it off eBay. But I got one more thing.
And what's that?
This is for you, Ray. And I got a CM Punk one coming too.
He's got the AEW special edition, 1 of 3,000 exclusive Sting.
Unreleased.
Unrivaled.
Yeah, no, that's the name of the line, but it was never circulated as the term. And the CM Punk I have coming is also, I think, one of 5,000, maybe. I showed you the Dan House, and I found that at the store. That's rare to find.
Well,
that's all I got for today.
That looks good, and of course, the Sting is a collector's item because of the circumstances that happened weeks ago. So, you know what? With that being said,
they sold it on the day he had his last match, and I bought it. It came like 2 days later.
Cool. So let's get into this episode. TW.
His last match was this past week, wasn't it? So it was a week before his last match.
Well, Reflection Nights, you know, we're transparent. Sometimes you don't know what day. We don't know what day it is, but you know, when this episode drops, you know, we already missed a week, and you already know where the time is. But anyway,
yeah.
You know how it is, Reflection Nights. The Magnificent Seven, they already know the spiel. I don't have to explain how transparent I am. But anyway, let's get into this episodic episode, Reflection Nights. It is episode 182, Donnie Day 1. And of course, we're going back to 1997. We're going back to South Philadelphia, born and raised. We are going back to my favorite promotion, and that is Extreme Championship Wrestling. ECW. And we're going to, kind of focus in on a very special episode of ECW from the summer, the Heat Wave Tour summer of 1997. So this happened around July of 1997 TW. Well, sometimes the way ECW did it is they had the ECW arena show like in June, and then we had to wait like maybe 2 or 3 weeks later for it to be on syndication television. So when it drops on TV, it's usually 2 or 3 weeks later. They had the ECW arena show in June, and again, it airs in July. But neither here nor there. ECW fans already know the logistics. But before we get into this episodic episode, TW, it dawned on the professor, because I don't ever want to sound like a hypocrite because of what's going on today in today's tribalistic world. But I think I have an out. I have a loophole of the tribalism that happened if we compare to 2023 2024 TW to 1997 in the terms of tribalism. I'm going to speak for myself as being one of the number one fans of ECW. Did I want WWE to fail, TW? No, I didn't want WWE to fail. Did I want WCW to fail, TW? Hell no, I didn't want WCW to fail either. But when you're waving the flag, when you have brand allegiance, TW, what are you looking at?
I was looking to see if I had any ECW figures to grab to show you.
Oh, okay. I thought you was looking at some sausages, but neither here nor there. But anyway,
I was in your DMs.
No, it's not even, again, neither here nor there. But what I was saying before I was rudely interrupted by the way you was looking.
Me. I was listening.
No, you was looking so stoically at something. It was like, oh my God, sausage. But anyway, I didn't want WWE to fail. I didn't want WCW to fail, or whatever the case may be. But waving the flag of brand allegiance to ECW, my motivation, not only to say ECW was number one, I knew the logistics, TW. I knew ECW wasn't going to be the top promotion in North America. I knew that. But I still waved the flag of ECW. What I wanted in 1997 in my tribalism was respect. Respect from the big two, to be noticed and to be respected. I've always told you on this podcast, and I still, people always say facts over feelings. What I said is feelings, but it's very factual. Two things can be true with the facts and feelings. And I've always told you, and you've heard this when I said this a lot, ECW saved wrestling in the 90s because of their style and their presentation. Because of them, WCW copied it. Because of them, we got the Attitude Era. Because of what Paul Heyman did in that little place in ECW Arena, South Philadelphia, born and raised, they just didn't have the platform. The other two had the bigger platforms to showcase realism, to showcase attitude and all that stuff. In 2024, it's very, very different. Both sides waved their flags out of stupidity, out of jealousy, out of trolling, whatever the case may be. But we don't want either organization to fail in its own right. We want the boys and the girls to have bookings. We want them to make the money that they deserve and all that stuff. We want them to have time off. We want them to explore their options and all that stuff. but it's always the toxic fans. But I think in 1997, like I said, my tribalism was I wanted respect. I wanted to be noticed. I don't want them to fail. I don't think no fan of ECW would really say they wanted the other two to fail. They didn't like WCW. I know that much. I was at ECW shows. They said fuck WCW. They kind of like tolerated WWE, but they still was waving ECW flag. But again, like I said, we didn't want them to fail. I think in 2024, either fan wants the other organization to die or whatever the case may be. That's just the way I look at it. What say you, TW?
I would say the truth is, and it's funny you said what you said because I didn't know that. I already thought this from originally. I think if we're being fair,
To be fair.
I think everybody wanted WCW to go away. I think if ECW took a spot, that's the spot they wanted to take. And I would say majority of the people that had ill will towards WCW would be because that was the company that did people dirty. WWE would just let you go like you never existed, but they didn't. They sent you off like with respect. WCW would call you and fire you at home. They would badmouth you, whatever. Paul Lee got done dirty there. Austin got done dirty there. Pillman got done. Well, Pillman kind of did them dirty, but there was just the guys there were usually there because WCW did them dirty and WWE didn't want them. You didn't see guys go from WWE to there. You seen guys go from WWE to WCW. So if anything, WCW going away.
Well,
No, I'm sure there's exceptions to the rule.
Okay, I will tell you some exceptions.
But they would generally be older guys, was what I'm saying. I'm talking about the guys that got a break were guys that were WCW and then went to ECW and got to be main event guys, if you will, who never would have got that shot in WCW. But the guys like in this episode, Lawler and Rude, those guys are coming from WWE, but they're kind of long in the tooth. And Lawler's really still affiliated with WWE. He's kind of helping them out. So my question for you was, this was before Hall and Nash, right? Or no, after Hall and Nash, but before the Austin era. Like Austin starts a little after this ECW invasion stuff, right?
This is Austin 316. This is the NWO. This is all that rolled up into one. I will
because I'm trying to figure out, because I know 97 is when Hall and Nash, or is it 96?
96.
Okay, so 97 is when the ball's rolling for both sides. So, but they brought in ECW way before. They brought in ECW after Hall and Nash, but before Austin blew up.
No, Austin already blew up. I will explain it to you.
Okay.
In this essence. Because in 1997, TW, for the purposes of what's going on in the wrestling business, we are under the 83-week streak, if you will, for WCW and Monday Nitro. We are under the, let's just say, I don't want to call it the illusion, but it has to be said, because with Bischoff continuously being number one on Mondays over Monday Night Raw, he had a swelled head, and he felt very big about himself to say that WCW was the number one promotion in America, and sometimes he said across the world, because they brought in the guys and all that stuff. WWE with Vince, and again, Reflection Nights, Vince McMahon, whether you like him, whether you don't like him, whether you hate what he's shitting on women and all that stuff and paying off women for all the sexual deviancy that he did, neither here nor there. But in 1997, for wrestling purposes, he had to have some allies, and he saw a company in ECW from South Philadelphia, born and raised, that he said that he could have some kind of business relationship. It wasn't a relationship that a lot of people knew, but within this episode, there was actually 3 organizations working in conjunction with each other. It was WWF, ECW, and let's not forget, since you said Jerry the King Lawler, USWA. They all worked together to create that, blur the lines kind of storyline. What do you mean 4?
Where did Cornette come from? Isn't Smoky Mountain involved too?
Cornette is under contract with WWF at this time.
He's WWF at this
Smoky
point.
Mountain is out of business.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I'm just giving you the logistics of what's going on here within the wrestling world, because again, TW was already defending the Detroit Heavyweight Championship, in a 60-minute Iron Man match against Jeff Kavanaugh. He was Elvis Elliott, we'll call it. Oh, Elvis Elliott. It was Elvis Elliott against Elvis?
and Sin Bodhi were a tag team. Elvis
Oh.
is my boy.
Oh, okay. So, but anyway, that's what TW was doing. He was defending the heavyweight championship in Ann Arbor, Michigan, in 60-minute Ironman matches, having 5-star classics that Meltzer creamed in his pants. Did you find that out in the Wrestling Observer? It's right there in the archives. But then, again, neither here nor there. But let's start off with this episode, TW, because again, it is taking place in the hallowed halls of the ECW arena. It's renamed right now in 2020 Quattro, the 2300 Arena. And, certain organizations try to do their shows there. And again, MLW, Major League Wrestling.
Address?
Yeah. MLW does shows there at that same spot. TNA Impact Wrestling has done a couple of shows there.
They're there this weekend. Well, last weekend when this airs.
And Ring of Honor used to do shows there too. I don't know if Tony Khan's going to want to go back there. He'd be stupid not to try again for WrestleMania weekend, but neither here nor there.
Plus, they get small crowds. It's perfect for them.
Yeah, it will fill up too.
Right.
Again, we like it. We like AEW. Don't get it twisted. We like AEW, but
we
again,
also have a sense of humor, so we got.
Yeah, we have a sense of humor. But again, TW, just like you have an affinity for the Sportatorium in Dallas, Texas, I have an affinity for the ECW arena. And again, for 2020 Quattro purposes, I can watch an MLW show from the 2300 arena. It just doesn't feel.
How long does it take you to get there?
If you go by car from where I am, maybe 2.5 hours.
You got a car, or do you just subway shit like Ray?
Well, I could probably. Well, subway would probably take 3 hours, I think, depending. But I'm not too sure. But it should be. It's like a 2 or 3 hour car ride, depending on where you're coming from. Like where Ray's coming from, it's going to be like three hours because he's deep where he is.
He don't have a car. I'm asking if you have a car.
No, I don't have a car. I had to get picked up, so it would take a little bit longer. But neither here nor there. But
I've never had that dynamic, right? Like ever since I started driving, I've had a car. You have a license?
Yeah.
When's the last time you drove?
When I'm needed to, when I'm designated. You know what
like
that
a
means.
rental car for work and stuff?
If I have to, yeah. But I don't need to buy a car.
That's just normal where you're at, right? Because of traffic and congestion and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what our plan will be. Since
What's
it's a 2.5 hour drive for you anyway, it's gonna be like a 2 hour flight for me. We're gonna figure out in 2025. There's gonna be a show at this 2300 arena. You're gonna drive there. I'm gonna fly there. We'll get JB to fly there, Ray to fly or walk, whatever he's gonna do. And we're gonna go to a show there. That's what we're gonna do. It's on the bucket list. I've been to Pennsylvania once to pee at the rest stop at the top corner on my way to Buffalo, New York, and I stopped there with a layover in Philadelphia on my last trip from DC. Oh no, it was from Miami. I did a layover in Philadelphia, but my friends tell me that doesn't count. So now I got to go back to Philly or Pennsylvania and go to something. So it would be awesome is if we go to a wrestling show on Saturday and maybe Sunday there's a hockey game or something. We do both.
Well, with the Flyers, I guess we could do that. But again,
What else would it be?
that's it. You said Philadelphia for a reason.
Right. That's what I meant. I don't want to see the
No. But see, now you messed my train of thought up because I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
See, now we went
About
on
the arena. It was about the arena.
I know that. That's what. There we go. Thank you for at least getting me back on the track. I'm gonna have to, rewind this reflection. But anyway, neither here nor there. But like I said, I have an affinity for the ECW arena.
Yeah,
you have an affinity for the Sportatorium. So with the ambiance, you know me. These are places that are like hollow halls. These are places that is so historical for the fandom. What say UTW? Because again, I know you don't have the same affinity of the ECW arena, but that's why I said the Sportatorium. Do you get that? Do you feel that same energy? Do you feel that same kind of fandom? Do you feel that same kind of passion when you see the fans of Dallas, Texas, and the Sportatorium with the Philadelphia fans?
This is gonna blow you away, but this is one of my things about AEW. I think it's different now. I think it was better 2 years ago, and like from the first year to like 2 years ago. I think it's different now. But one of the best parts of AEW is the best part of ECW and the Sportatorium for WCCW. The audience participation. It's fun. What is everybody's favorite Monday Night Raw? I personally don't like it because I think they hijacked the show, but it's the Raw after Mania, which is coming up soon. And it's such an eclectic group of people that it's people from all over the world. They have a good time. And that's the one thing when you watch ECW, they enjoy it. And when you watch Kerry Von Erich. You hear the girls screaming. You hear the guys cheering. You know they're enjoying themselves there. And a lot of WWE or WCW or I don't really know anybody else I could throw in there because there's not MLW. I don't really see TNA. I guess they chant that TNA stuff, but it's funny because we call AEW the Spot Monkey Show, but the audiences for WWE, they pop for spots and they sit until there's a spot. AEW fans will just be standing on their feet the whole thing, but it's a spot fest, so there's no reason to sit down.
They pop for choreographic sets,
right?
Instead of spots, so it's a difference,
right? Which is ironic because their complaint is that WWE isn't wrestling, and that is wrestling. Well, no, it's not. If it's a fucking gymnastics show, wrestling is headlocks, takedowns, hip tosses, top rope stuff. It's not going 100 miles an hour for 15 minutes and then fucking hoping one you don't die. Which, by the way, Al Snow predicted that 100% somebody will die in an AEW ring. I hope he's wrong, but that stuff with Darby Allin. That stuff's got to stop, man. There's someone needs to say, "Listen, dude, enough of that." It almost comes across.
Well, you can't blame it all on AEW. It's just an indie marked hard logic.
AEW lets them do it.
Yeah, but it's in the little arenas. It's in the little armories as we speak right now today. But again, you get where I'm going with TW. Again, it's the fandom, it's the electricity, it's the passion of the fans, especially.
They're part of the show.
They're part of the show, especially
what you call in your line of work the sixth man.
Right. Again, with the straw hat man, the sign guy, Dudley guy, you got the guy with the glasses, and all this stuff. You got the same guys in the same seats at the same shows all the time. So that's what made it very infectious, just like the Sportatorium and just like, center stage for NWA back in the 80s. You had the same people in the same seats every week because, again, what's that word, TW? Passion. They had the passion, loyalty. And they love and the loyalty. Yeah, that's a good word too. Then the loyalty for their brand. So with that being said, let's get into this episodic episode. And TW, it wasn't a one-man show for Joey Styles, the voice of ECW. He had backup. He had a color analyst, if you will, and that was Ravishing Rick Rude, a former world heavyweight champion, even though TW does not acknowledge world class as a world heavyweight championship. But again, that's just semantics.
No, the NWA international title is not a world title. And neither is world class.
It was a world heavyweight championship. But anyway.
It called the world heavyweight champion. It was called the freaking North American Texas title or something.
I think we found another debate. We found another debate. But anyway, before anything, TW, about the matches we saw, I just wanted to acknowledge, again, Joey Styles, for the duration of the existence of ECW, let's just say 80% of all ECW shows, he did it alone. And again, that was a different presentation. That was a different, philosophy because of Paul Heyman said, Joey, you can do it yourself. He had the voice. He was infectious. He had the passion too.
Fanboying.
You could say he was fanboying, but
he felt like one of you.
There you go, TW. He felt like one of us telling the story of what's going on in the ring. But it doesn't hurt to have a guy with the pedigree and the resume of Ravishing Rick Rude in, doing color analysts. But of course, with the tradition of an ECW show, they start in the ring. So what say you about Joey Styles and Rick Rude standing together? Did you like the pairing throughout the show of them, bouncing back and forth, or did you feel it was weird?
I felt weird because Rick Rude was dressed like a soccer dad, and he was a shirt tucker. But I liked that Rick Rude was still Rick Rude. He was heel, but his color commentary was almost babyface. Like he was calling out the heels for like the Shanghai move or whatever, which is a sneak attack, Shanghai surprise. I like that he did that. Like he focused on the product, not himself. Whereas a lot of heels focus on themselves and then only put over heels, and it's too formulaic and predictable. Whereas Rick Rude, he comes out talking smack and then talks smack. Actually, now that I think about it, Lawler was with the heels, so he almost was pro babyface. Now that I think about it,
well, for this particular week,
but he was pro ECW as well.
There you go. He was more pro ECW. I would say this, TW, because again, with my fandom and my history of watching ECW, we know that Rick Rude was working, the career was over. He had that bad neck. He took out that insurance, well, from staying in Japan. He took out that insurance policy from Lloyd's of London, which was worth, I believe, $2 million. So again, he got bankrolled out of that. But I think you can tell that if it wasn't for that injury, TW, that maybe, you know how wrestlers do, like, you know, color analysts, like they're mending their wounds, but then you know that it's more storyline because they'll eventually will come back to do a program, to do a match and all that stuff. I almost felt like that. I almost felt that Rick Rude was just buying his time for an opportunity. And of course, a couple of weeks later, we know that he would go to WWE and have a, you know, he was working with WWE on a handshake deal. And then eventually, you know, he would make history being on Nitro and Raw at the same time in November and having an exclusive deal with WCW. Of course, Rick Rude's a businessman. But of course, TW, I felt that Rick Rude, if it wasn't for that injury, I think he would have, like, you know, politicked himself trying to get in an angle in an ECW ring or maybe a WWE ring or a WCW ring. I don't know if he, again, with that injury, and we know that, you know, he took steroids, he took drugs and all that stuff to mend, you know, mental health disease and all that stuff, TW. So with a career-ending injury, and he was in the prime of his life if it wasn't for that injury. So of course, seeing his boys, seeing his friends in that ring, doing what they love to do, he's missing out on that chance, and he's missing out at the hottest period. I'm not talking about money-wise, but this is the hottest period of wrestling where there's 3 organizations that, you know, people know of. They know those letters. It's WWE, ECW, WCW. You know those 3 letters. And if you're involved in some way, shape, or form in that ring, this is the hottest period, and he's missing out. What say you, TW, about that?
Well, Rick Rude was a great wrestler, no doubt, but he was also a great talker, and he still got to be Rick Rude that way. It was weird for DX and for NWO. He was more bodyguardish, which is weird because he can't fight. But when he talked, he still got to, like he does it in the CCW episode where he's about to say, says, cut the music, the crowd pops. And then you think he's about to do, let the lady see what a real man looks like, but he was basically he was doing a skit to tell Jerry Lawler to kiss his ass. But he still got to be Rick Rude. And I think if you're probably not making the money you made as a worker as you do as a TV guy, you're definitely not in ECW. But if you make close money and you still got your travel and hotels paid, it's better than not being in the business. And I think if it's close money and you also don't have to bump for it, it's actually not a bad way to stay in the business, right? I've never felt comfortable doing the talking. I was good at it, but there's no way I could just do that, right? So especially commentating. That's where
I'm getting. I think, you know, sometimes you have that itch. You're still in the ring, like you said. He's still doing his promo, but again, there's something missing.
He could bump others, right? He could also bump people. So the fun part sometimes is doing offense, but you know, messing with your neck and back, that ain't something you want to take for granted and end up in a wheelchair for it. You know, Dynamite Kid comes to mind. You know, but I think what he's probably itching to get in there, but at the same time. And I would say commentating is even better than being what he was with DX and NWO, because commentating, he's there for the whole show. Like, there's no better way to get your itch cured than being out there for the entire. If it was AEW, you'd retire in a week. But if just being out there for the whole show, you'll lose that itch because that's a long time to be out there. Whereas being out there is just your segment as the manager, that might not be enough. So
We know that Jesse Ventura is a great example of having a second life, and he said he made more money as a commentator. But again,
he's widely regarded as the greatest color guy ever.
Right, but it depends on your mental. You know, Corey Graves, as long as you accept the fact that I can't get in the ring anymore and you focus everything and your whole energy on that, that's one thing. That's why I said, for me,
Corey's definitely making more money now than he was as a wrestler.
I get, but you get where I'm going with this. Again, Rick Rude seemed to me like, he's naturally gifted with the talking, no doubt about it. But I just think he wasn't happy himself. He wanted to be in the ring for the total package, if you will. Reflection.
You want to be the main guy. That's the mentality. And again, I would think that mentality leads to you saying, okay, I'll do color commentary, because most people wouldn't want that job.
Right.
I mean, if that's what you do, like if you're Tenay and and Bob Caudle and David Crockett, if that's your job. But if your job was being in the ring, and guarantee you, Rick Rude went to his grave thinking, "Fuck, I never won a world title." That's probably weighing on him too.
He did win a world title. He did.
He did not.
World class.
Is he on the Stanley Cup of Wrestling, which is the WWE World Title? No. Is he on the NBA Naismith? Is that what it's called? The Naismith Trophy for the NBA?
Mm-hmm.
Is he on that?
Larry O'Brien Trophy, but I get he's not on the stand.
Is that the Player of the Year or something?
That's the Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay, yeah. So is he on the Lester B. Pearson Award or whatever you just said?
The fuck is that? Lester B. Pearson.
Lester B. Pearson is the MVP of the season, voted by the players.
Jesus. All right, let's get on with this show again.
Greatest show.
Rick Rude moons Jerry Lawler for a reason, and of course, with it being syndicated, and of course, ECW doesn't want to get thrown off the air again for like the 20th time. They had to put the lipstick on his ass. But anyway, let's get on with the show and the opening, TW, because what you said, I just wanted to not prove you wrong, but I just wanted to prove an example with the opening match. We had the two-thirds of the triple threat of the franchise Shane Douglas and Bam Bam Bigelow, because they are examples of going to WWE and it's not working out, and then they come to ECW as great examples of reigniting their career. And the triple threat is in a war with the Pit Bulls, and it's Bam Bam Bigelow representing the triple threat against Pit Bull number 2 TW. And with that being said,
lots of death.
Oh God, Jesus Christ. Yes, the gatekeeper TW is keeping on point with this, because yes, there are some deaths. Rick Rude, Pitbull number 2, Bam Bam Bigelow, and all that stuff. Rest in heaven. But the one thing I want, can I at least say what happens in the damn episode? Jesus Christ. Let's enjoy the nostalgia for what it's worth. But anyway, as God is shining a light on my eyes. But anyway, one thing, TW, I want to harp on again, because again, everything comes back to 2020 Quattro in comparison to 1997, is the wrestling style. And you made those little hinting jokes about, well, AEW, but I also say indie mark logic is like you wrestling 1,000 miles an hour now. You're getting all your spots in within a 15-20 minute ratio. And again, I'm not saying 1997. Well, 1997 is extremely different, but I think with all the high impact moves, with people like yourself, Los Rudos doing what they're doing in the indies, you can still do those high impact moves. You can still do those choreography moves. But two things stuck in the professor's mind, TW. I want to see if you agree with this, and then we'll talk about what's going on in these matches. The pacing is different. It's kind of methodical and slow to get your shit in, but make it make sense with the psychology.
Working.
And, well, you will explain that for the Reflectionites, but I'm giving the fandom part of it. But also, in a sense, I want to say this, because a lot of people will kind of like try to prove the professor wrong. But in 2020 Quattro, if there's 10 matches on the card, and this is WWE, this is NXT, this is AEW, this is MLW, and all this stuff, TW. So I'm every organization is on the professor's list right now. But if there's a 10-match card on the marquee, 8 of them are the same almost. 8 of them have the same moveset, same spot fest, same psychology sense, and all that stuff. But in 1997, if you had a 10-match card, I'll be liberal. 3 out of 10 were the same exact match. But out of those 3 Reflectionites, probably the first match, the 5th match, and maybe the 9th match is the same, because they wanted to make sure it was different in all sectors. Do you agree with that assessment, or do you have
those are usually going to be the filler matches if they're doing that, like just to get them on the show. I would disagree to throw NXT in there. NXT is usually 4 or 5 matches on their 3 hour.
I'm just saying, let's just say the black and gold. I'm just talking about the mindset and all that stuff. It's the same thing. Sometimes the matches are the same within the psychology sense, the work sense, and all that stuff.
I would say in its peak, NXT is the exception to this what you're saying. Other than that, I would agree with you. And I think, first of all, I think 10 matches is too many. I was I
I'm just
played
giving
the
a
new video
liberal.
game.
I'm giving that liberal number just to be
No.
unfair.
Dude, you're trying not to say their name, but there's one promotion that has 10 matches or more and goes until 1 in the morning and pay-per-views, and it's too much, but their fan base likes it, so do it, but they're going to burn out. But I was playing the WrestleMania video game, or the 40 years of WrestleMania video game, and one of the things I had to do for the showcase was Macho Man versus Ricky Steamboat at WrestleMania 3. I was there, which is the very first really epic, like, people will be talking about it for 100 years match for a WrestleMania. The other ones, the first two, there was no match like that. And then you also had Hogan and Andre later on that night, and then you have Shawn and Razor, and just so on and so forth. But that match, in my mind, was 30 minutes. When Corey Graves said it was 15 minutes and 21 seconds, I was like, what the fuck? What? How can that match be that awesome and that back and forth seesaw and only be 15 minutes? It's mind-blowing to me. And I would gather Macho Man's entrance and Steamboat's entrance is probably part of that 15 minutes, which is my gripe about this ECW show. 29 minutes left in the episode when the main event starts. 14 minutes left when the first move is laid on. 15-minute intros. That's too much, right? You get yelled at on indies for going too long for your intro. They'll be like, all right, your match is going to be 5 minutes next month because you took 10 minutes to come to the ring. But anyways,
I can retort that. I will retort it after you finish your diatribe. But
there's something to be said. So what I would say to you is the NXT Black and Gold, I think the reason there were 4 matches or 5 matches is because all of them were different. Whereas the TV show now, I would give you the 2-hour Wednesday night TV show is a whole lot of repetition. It's the same. The women all do the same matches. The men who aren't champions do all the same matches. And then the champions do the same program with their opponent that they did with the last opponent and the last challenger and all that. So yes, I agree to that. And that's miserable. Whereas this ECW era and even WrestleManias and Starrcades, even when you gimmick them up or don't gimmick them up, the matches stood out on their own as individual. It wasn't everyone did a DDT, everyone did a suit. Moves were protected. Sequences were protected. Spots were protected. And that comes with having agents. A lot of the stuff today doesn't have agents. Or they lie and say they don't have agents, and their agents just aren't very good. But
the agents are not respected or given or have a voice to at least.
Speaking of Elvis Elliott, Brian Ireland, we call him Baby Benoit, Travis, me, Little Dan from Steel City Wrestling. We would all wrestle on the same shows together. We wrestled for Al Snow's promotion, and he sold it. It was a different guy's promotion. We wrestled for that. We wrestled in Westland, Michigan for another guy. We wrestled in Taylor, Michigan for another guy. You know what we all did every show? We would go up to the other matches and say, what's your finish? So that none of us did the same finish. What's your finish? What's your finish? The promoter would go up to people and go, hey, the main event tonight is going to end up at a double count out. Don't do that in your match. Or it's going to be the heel's going to kick out of the baby's finish and then cheat to win. Don't do that. You had people telling people you still got to do whatever you wanted, but you got told not to do this because we're already doing it here. Clearly, there's no one doing that lately. Again, I don't want to pick on one promotion, but it is more one than the other. It ruins it for people that pay attention. If you're only watching it because you only want to see this one match, people keep talking about this. Was it Will Ospreay versus Fletcher? Is that? Yeah. That guy's part of a tag team where the other guy's hurt right now or something. People are just raving about this match. That's great. I bet you if I watch it, I will not have the same feeling. And I think it's because one of the things that I notice a lot in both promotions, I feel like people are like, I already told you a million times, they call me stiff, they call me the potato because I hit people for real. I didn't kill them. And I think a lot of guys on TV right now are trying hard to kill each other for the sake of looking better. And you're ending up with a lot of injuries, a lot of concussions, which is an injury, but I'm being specific, and a lot of torn muscles because people are hitting too hard. And it's like the beauty of wrestling before it blew up was that you could look like you were murdering somebody, and the two of you are driving to the next town counting your money together without a pain in the world. Right now, you got to go through glass. You got to go off a ladder, off a balcony, on a thumbtack. You got to do all this stuff to yourself. And for what?
For
so
a pop.
You can regret it in a fucking hour or two when you're driving to the next town with ice on your fucking back. You're like, wow.
For the pop. The pop is infectious.
When you finally get to the match, that I'm gonna have a lot more to say. When you finally get to the match, this is one of the reasons why I had no interest in doing ECW, was this kind of stuff. I'll get to it when we get to that match.
Gotcha.
But it's like,
I know which one.
Listen, man, it ain't worth dying for.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of these guys, especially ECW guys, I promise you, they're not doing it for the money. Do they wish they got paid to do it? Absolutely. But they're doing it for the love of it. And that's what makes you willing to take risks. Like Darby Allin diving into that fucking, I will never ever think that was not a fucking dumb thing. It would have made more sense if he landed on somebody than it did to just go clean through it to the floor. But either way, there's just some point, like to say Al said someone's going to die in the ring. I hate that he thinks that, because he's just saying out loud what a lot of us are thinking. And you hope he's wrong. You hope it doesn't happen. You hope him saying that makes some people around that company go, he's right. We should probably dial it back a little bit. But
again,
the finesse part is gone.
It's the evolution, and then the thought process, the new generation of wrestlers who are in their positions of power, in their positions of influence, make it all different. So let's go into this opening match. Again, it's Pitbull number 2 against Bam Bam Bigelow. And the funny thing, because we're talking about like the stylistics of today with yesteryear. These are two bruisers, but of course, Bam Bam Bigelow is apropos at going off the top rope. Neither, Pitbull number 2 does things off the top rope too, so neither here nor there. But TW, within this match, I was like, he's doing a headlock for a couple of minutes.
It's a straight squash.
He's doing a headlock he's doing a headlock for a couple of minutes, and the crowd is still into it. They're not bored. They're not saying boring and all this stuff, because they're getting their rest period and all that stuff, and they're getting knowing their
heat. They drew heat.
Mm-hmm.
And that headlock makes them mad, because it means their guy's not getting his licks in on Bam Bam. That's why they're still hot for it.
Working. I know it's so simplistic, but yet it still works. That's what we're trying to say for all those marks.
Working, like they work the crowd into a frenzy.
Right.
And then that headlock makes them go, come on, Pitbull number 87, get up before you die.
Which he did years later. I knew you were going to say that. But anyway, TW, what say you about this match, the stylistics? And again, these are two bruisers going at it with each other. And again, they slowed it down with the methodical pacing of the headlocks and all that stuff. But yet, Bam Bam went off the top rope. Pitbull number 2 went off the top rope. We got a little, ECW,
color.
again,
Color.
That's some color too. But, ECW has its flaws of, things that don't make sense. And again, in hindsight, TW, I can acknowledge that, the referee spots are stupid. It's retarded. Well, I can't say the R word. It's stupid. Really, really stupid. And it goes against the laws of logic and common sense. And they're trying their best to do some old school psychology on that instance. But it's easy.
Are you talking about when Francine is distracting the ref? He looks like an idiot. How do you not hear all the bumping going on?
That's why the ring is so small, and the shit is going on. Reflection.
You hear boom, boom, boom. That means there's 3 people.
Right. That's all it is. And in the end, of course, Bam Bam Bigelow got the win, and it took another triple threat member, and that was no gimmicks needed, Chris Candido. So let's say about this opening match.
But it's perfect,
Bam
right?
Bam and Pitbull.
It's perfect, because first of all, he attacks him right away. He gives color to him right away. He's basically squashing him right away with a couple false hopes here and there, false comebacks. So the whole match, the old formula was the guy, Pitbull number 82, he's winning that match, because the whole match is Bam Bam kicking his ass. That's the trade-off. I'll put him over, but I'm getting my licks in, right? It's going to be 60-40 me. This is like 90-10 Bam Bam. And then he wins.
Maybe 80-20, I'd say.
I'll go 85-15. But I like that the Candido and Francine distract didn't work, and that the other Pitbull came out and chased off Candido or
Douglas.
Shane. And then it looks like Buddy's going to win, But he doesn't because Candido comes out and helps him. And it's like, that's heat. That's making the crowd hate you. Currently, The Rock's doing it. Did you ever think there'd be a time in the world where the fans would boo The Rock? Hell no. But they are, because he's pushing the buttons that are making them boo him. And it's like, all right, they're going to love him when it's all over. It's probably going to be a double turn, reunion of the Shield. But at the end of the day, it's they work the crowd to make them angry, and it works. Two different things. Work means it worked, but working means they're working them. They're putting them right here and making them do what they want to do. And it was a thing of beauty. It was well done. It's funny though, because Shane Douglas comes out and I think says cut the music right away, and it felt like Shane Douglas was
that's to start the match before anything.
Right.
That's what he does.
He also sounded like he was either, I don't know if he was taunting Rick Rude, but he sounded like he was trying to be Rick Rude when he said cut the music. And then
well, technically he always said that in ECW. That was his shtick too. So
well, I assume that too, but then it dawned on me
trademark.
that Rick Rude was there, so he might have been messing with him. So
Good.
But
Yeah.
this match was good. It was good. Wasn't a 5-star Meltzer classic for wrestling, but it was good for professional wrestling. It did what it was supposed to do. It got the heels over, got them more heat. It made people sympathetic for the pit bulls, which good luck doing that. These two look like they would rob you in an alley, and somehow you have sympathy for them because they got screwed by 3 against 2, 4 really with Francine. It was really, really well done.
It's so simplistic, reflection, yet that's
It made me want to wrestle there. Like, damn it, I should have been there for this.
Well, with that being said, we'll go into the second match that will still make TW want to wrestle in ECW. I know which match he did not want to go and work in ECW.
You're wrong. I think you're wrong.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, the second match was the Battle of the Body Donnas, and it is Chris Candido against Dr. Tom Pritchard. You really, because of this match, you did not want to work it?
Not this match. Something that happened in this match.
Oh, okay. Well,
they had a lot of botches in the beginning.
I get you with that, but let me give you the backdrop because, again, I have to parlay this with 2024 because, again, of what's going on, Reflection Nights, because, again, we are always transparent here. What is going on in the world today, TW, is this. The one joke that we keep hearing on a lot of AEW matches, you know, like Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher. I'll use that as an example. What is the one trolling joke that we hear a lot, Reflection Nights? What's the story?
His dentures.
No, not his dentures. I said, what's the story? You know, it's always that little hypocritical thing. What's the story? What's the story? I need meaning. I need.
Oh,
yeah. I need some.
I thought you were asking me what the story was. There's no logic to it. It's just they're fighting the fight.
Right. For today's purposes, what is the story? What is the substance? Give me something to be invested in this match. Give me the sizzle with the steak and all that stuff. So, TW, again, I will be transparent. I'm not going to be hypocritical. Again, this match was not promoted on TV a lot. There's no story to work into this match. So you know how ECW is. Open door policies. People come in. You know, if your WCW contract is, you know, expired, you can come down and Paul Heyman says, no question. Come on down. I'll book you. I'll pay you and all that stuff. Same thing with WWF. When it happened for Dr. Tom Pritchard, his Body Donna contract was up. He went down there, and then they had this match. For the hardcores like myself and all the ECW people, we saw this and we were amped. But again, for today's trolls and today's social media, people will be coming at me like, Professor, there's no story here. Yes, there is a story because at the end, Chris Candido made it more of the story because of what he said on the promo. But I'm so shocked and surprised that you said you wouldn't want to work in ECW because of this match. I thought the main event would be more the apropos reason of not.
The main event is a whole lot of what I thought ECW was, for sure. But what I didn't like about this is the whole overcompensating. They botched moves on the top rope a few times, right? Like the crowd even chanted, "You fucked up" to Candido for like a second, and he looked over at him and they stopped. When he went to do the backdrop to the top rope, he missed. And he was barely hanging on. Pritchard sold it perfect, like he was just tired. But the finish was Candido standing on the top rope, pulling Pritchard up, and power bombing him off the top rope. That is dangerous. And I was stunned to see Pritchard do it because he seems like more of an old school safe worker. Because basically Candido does the flip as he dives out, there's no guarantee he's flat to do it yet, right? Because he's not up in the air. But yet at the same time, if you don't do that, you might fall backwards off the top rope. It's not like their top rope's a platform. It's a damn rope, just like every other rope. So when they did that, I thought, I'm glad it worked out, but that was unnecessary. Powerbomb him off the second rope.
Again in the 90s,
so you can sit at least.
But again in the 90s, the evolution of the wrestling business, you know, the high impact moves are getting higher, TW. So with Chris Candido winning the match, Reflection Ice, in the Battle of the Body Donnas with the blonde bombshell or a top rope powerbomb.
He did it often.
Yeah, that was his move in the NWA. That was his move in Smoky Mountain, all that stuff. But he didn't do that in WWE because Vince McMahon.
They wouldn't let him. That's why.
Right. They wouldn't have. They didn't allow him. He might have gotten away with it at a house show and maybe a wrestling challenge against a jobber or whatever. But it wasn't something that Vince McMahon wanted him to do on main eventers or people high up in the card. But he did that on Dr. But again, it's the evolution, TW. Everybody has got to one up again to be noticed, to be booked and all that stuff, TW. What's going on today with all the 15-second spots and, you know, flipping off from the ring to the arena floor and all that stuff from the balcony, like you said, you got to one up everybody. You got to, you know, up the ante, you know, up the bar, if you will, TW. I'm not going to defend it. It's just what was happening. You had to up the ante, TW. I'm not trying to defend it. I understand your gripe with it, but I'm surprised that move itself is what swayed you.
No, that's the kind of stuff that happened on a regular basis, doing something that's so ridiculous, and 90% of the time it worked out great. But, dude, all it takes is one time, and it to be you, and you'll be like, damn it, we shouldn't have done that. But meanwhile, you're in a full body cast in a hospital, and you, by the way, didn't even get paid because check bounce. It's just, you know, it's one thing to do it on WrestleMania. I'm not saying I do it still. But you do it at WrestleMania, at least you know there's a fucking 4-digit check coming your way at the end of it, right? When you're doing it in a bingo hall for a hot dog and a handshake, dude, I wrestled in bingo halls in Michigan. I'm not talking about ECW. I'm talking about reality, an armory, a bingo hall, school gym. If you're wrestling in one of those places and you're getting a hot dog and a handshake, and you might not walk out of there, what are you doing? What are you doing? I told you about Mike Legacy, my old tag team partner, main attraction. Mike Legacy and Tommy Wonder, Calvera Cortez. He got all caught up with Sabu, with M.O. Curley writing the article in the Detroit News, and he just loved ECW, he loved Sabu, but he started messing with Legacy. I don't know if they prearranged it. So Legacy would wrestle, and the crowd would chant Sabu because they read that column every Friday in the Detroit News. So he started trying to do moves that Sabu did, and for his troubles, he fell from the top rope to the floor of an ice rink with no ice on concrete on his head. And then got an $850 ambulance ride back across the bridge to Canada, and the promoter never paid for it like he said he would. Almost broke his neck, got a severe concussion. Very lucky at the end of the day. But why did he do it? Because some fan chanted Sabu, and he tried to do a Sabu move. And something simple. Sabu used to be on the outside of the ring like you're waiting to make a tag. He would springboard up, and his thighs would land on the top rope, and he'd do a moonsault back to the floor. That's what Legacy did.
And Sabu still botched those moves.
Right. Yeah. Well, so did Legacy. And he literally, do you know what Donkey Kong is? Where you save the princess and the things fall and he falls head first to the ground. That's what Mike Legacy did. And then Al Snow runs in the back and yells at me, "Don't let him go to sleep, Tommy." I'm like, what the fuck? I don't even know what happened. Legacy's looking at me like, I'm not going to go to sleep. I'm not. And he looks like a fucking 5-year-old kid. Like he's just delirious. His eyes are tearing up because he was in pain. I'm gonna reach out to him, ask him if he ended up breaking anything, because I broke my neck in my third match. So it's and that was just from a Japanese arm drag. I wasn't even doing anything dangerous. It just fucking collided.
You're shouting out Mike Legacy, so share the podcast with him. So it's like, hey, Mike, we shouted you out here. So anyway,
I will.
Let me ask you this question before we get into the main event here on the ECW episodic show, because again, it was the Battle of the Body Donnas, but it's also a battle of the. To me, not a battle of the what ifs, is because when you look at Chris Candido, I know Gatekeeper TW will remind me he's dead. I got that. But
I was sad when he died.
Me too. But think about this, TW. In 1997, he was given really a shot to be himself. He was himself in NWA. Indie territories. He was himself in Smoky Mountain. He was not himself in WWE with, Skip and Body Donnas and stuff like that. But again, you're getting paid. the check's clearing. You're gonna do it. You're gonna try to
You're a
make
professional wrestler. It's your career.
Yeah, right.
You're
You're
good.
trying to make chicken salad out of chicken shit. I got all the plugs. I got all the pums and all that stuff. But I looked at that. It was like, what could have been? Because everybody was, saying how Chris Candido not was the future of wrestling, but he has so much, as we say here.
He was a throwback.
Well, not only a throwback, he kind of it's kind of like that. He needed two other people. He needed Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood, and they would really had a trip. That would have really been a good triple threat there. But what's that word we always use? Untapped potential, and he had all that. TW. What say you about Chris Candido?
Well, he was always going to have the harder climb because he's little. I mean, he was stocky, but he was little. To me, he was Dean Malenko with a personality. And even he didn't have that much of a personality. Sonny Tammy Stitch was his personality. But he seemed like a nice guy. I never met him. I don't think I did. And again, sad ending to his life. Something like the same with Derek. Was it Derek Thomas died the same way? The blood clot in the leg when he was in the hospital for something else.
Could be.
Which is funny because when I was in the hospital with pneumonia in 2018, you bet your ass I thought about both of those guys because I'm like, God, please don't let me go out like that. But they kept coming in twice a day, giving me a shot that stops blood clots from forming in your leg from laying in the hospital bed for days. And I like to say Chris Candido and Derek Thomas are two. Derek Thomas might still be alive, damn it.
Derek Thomas,
the guy from Kansas City Chiefs.
He's dead. He's been dead.
It is Derek Thomas.
Yeah, he's been
Who's
dead.
The other Derek, the big hurt.
Big
baseball
hurt.
player.
That's not Derek. That's Frank Thomas. He's still alive.
There it is. That's what I got me messed up, the last name. But Derek Thomas, young, Chris Candido, young, both died the same way. And I like to think the two of them dying wasn't in vain because there's two different things they do now in the hospital. They give you that little leg warmer on each leg that keeps your leg stimulated, or they give you that shot. And I would like to believe that those two were two of the reasons why that technology exists because of what happened with them and many, many others, obviously. But Candido, I wouldn't put him on my untapped potential list because, to be fair, I think he overshot his coverage just by making it to the WWE because he made it there in a time when people didn't his size, right? Malenko got in there.
Yeah, but the gimmick sucked, though. That he wasn't given a gimmick.
The gimmick sucked fine, but I'm saying he still shot higher than he probably, I'm 6 foot. I'm probably taller than Candido. And I still was told you're too small. So,
right.
This isn't a day when dudes were 6'5" was short. No, 6'2", 6'3" was short. But 6'5", 6'7", 6'8", you were a monster. And so I'm happy for him is what I'm saying. I would say, could he have done more? Absolutely. But he wouldn't have done it in WWE. He might have got a chance. I definitely would maybe get a chance in AEW, but he's one of the guys that revolutionized it. Brett and Sean helped. These guys being 6 foot helped. And, if he was even smaller, like what benefits Rey Mysterio is he's even smaller than everybody, but he flopped around like a pinball, and he's a nice guy. And guys like Kevin Nash and guys like whoever else, big guys, would bump for him. And they made it work for him. So Candido, was he ever going to do that? He was more of an old school, like FTR is a good example. Like he was someone like them. And Arn Anderson, just a throwback who just
ass kickers. That's what they are.
He looked the part. He looked like a professional wrestler of old. It was not no gimmicks needed, like you said. And one thing cool, I was going to ask you this, and you just answered it already. I always thought he was ECW before he was Body Donis, but he was Body Donna right from Smoky Mountain and then went to ECW. And then after the match, when he basically thanked Pritchard, which is one thing I did like about ECW, which is I think what Ring of Honor stole from there. Even after you beat the shit out of each other, you shook each other's hand and did whatever. He did that with him. I did not know Tom Pritchard trained him. And he said 8 years ago. So that means he started training with Pritchard at 17 years old. Now it makes all the sense in the world why they were a tag team in WWE, because it made none to me when they put them two together. Because Pritchard was a heavenly body, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was awesome as that. Right. And I always wonder how Pritchard didn't have a job for life in WWE with his brother being there.
Well, again, I think more of the developmental thing. Again, he doesn't like Connecticut. He doesn't like being around Vince McMahon. So,
it's his own doing.
I don't know about that.
I think he got released all the time. Like they used him, but
no. Again, it's like Cornette. Again, when you're around Vince McMahon, you can only do so much. So, maybe And Dr. Tom Pritchard is one of those people who will speak his mind, if you will, Reflectionites. So with that being said, let's get to the main event here in this. Let me see if I can do this right for TW.
Who did the Steve Kern, right? Who did the FT, whatever.
You messed it up. I did this for you, man.
You did it after I started talking.
I know. That's why.
Where were they
you
at?
Shut up. I'm
Where
giving
were
you
they at before they went to when they were in Kentucky? It was Les Thatcher. Then when they were in Florida before they went to the Full Sail, who was the guy down there running FTW? It was Steve Kern. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Now you messed up the bell. You messed up the bell. That's your fault.
You did it while I was talking.
You said don't tell you. You said don't tell you. I'm trying to surprise you, and then you want to talk. See,
I was very surprised. It's just I was talking when you rang it. I didn't understand. I actually thought you had a real bell. You were probably buffering with that cheap internet you got in Jersey.
You know what? Let me try. Take two. Reflection Next. Take two. We do it live. It's time for the main event here for episode 182. There you go. See, we got the bell for TW. I told him I was going to do it, and now we did it. Finally. But anyway, it is the I guess you could say the blood feud, if you will, as it's ECW versus the WWF to a degree. And I'll give the logistics, TW, because I know you'll be like, what? They're all ECW. No, well, again, I'm going to explain it to you. It is Tommy Dreamer and the hardcore icon, the Sandman, representing ECW to go up against Mr. Monday Night, Rob Van Dam, and Sabu. Sabu was never going to be in the WWE in any terms in 1997. Vince McMahon did not want him, but he did want Mr. Monday Night, Rob Van Dam. So again, with this kind of like hush-hush relationship between Vince McMahon and Paul Heyman, I don't know. This is more speculatory, TW, but don't quote me on this. Even though then Vince McMahon did pay Paul Heyman under the table, if you will, for talent exchanges, it would not have surprised the professor if he paid RVD's booking dates in ECW for Paul Heyman. So this way, Paul Heyman had some extra money. So you could say that Vince McMahon had RVD under his wing, if you will, but he wasn't full-time in WWE. But in 1997, Rob Van Dam did have a couple of matches on Monday Night Raw. Most notably, I remember against Jobber Jeff Hardy, in one of those matches. But that's where the moniker Mr. Monday Night started. As we know, ECW was going into another phase of blood feuds because, again, certain people were leaving for WCW, most notably Raven TW. So Raven jumped ship to WCW. And, of course, during this time period, there was this mole story that there was a double agent within ECW. And Paul Heyman had to weed out the people that was trying to sabotage ECW for WCW. One of those names was Todd Gordon, which you'll see in this match here, TW. And another mole was actually Bill Alfonso, which Paul Heyman was trying to get rid of himself too. But the wrestlers rallied around Bill Alfonso. And, of course, Bill Alfonso was actually the last best manager in wrestling in the late 90s. But that's the logistics. And again, within this parameters, TW, 3 organizations on TV were working together: WWE, ECW, and USWA. And of course, I'll say this, TW, I did not see all the stuff in USWA because, again, it was mostly Jerry Lawler against Tommy Dreamer. That was the hook. It was WWE against ECW. But he carried that blood feud into USWA. I did not see that on TV because, again, that was localized for the Memphis audience. I don't know if you got to see it in Detroit with USWA TV. I couldn't. But all I could see was ECW stuff. So with that being said, we go into this. And the funny thing, TW, is you said, like a couple of weeks ago, Reflectionites, if you saw the YouTube clip between The Rock, Roman, Cody, and Seth Rollins, it was a 21-minute video.
Yeah.
12 minutes of that video alone was entrances by all 4 guys on a YouTube clip.
Right.
9 minutes worth of a promo. So what TW was saying is actually funny because he popped me because 10 minutes of it was Sandman's entrance and entering the ringside area. But just like people pop for The Rock's entrance, people pop popped for Roman's entrance and Cody and Seth. We popped for Enter the Sandman. So it did not bother us. We were not cheated.
Oh, when you're there, you love it. But when you're reviewing a YouTube show for a podcast, no, you don't.
I'm just saying it did not bother me, even reliving this nostalgic moment. But I got what you were saying. But again, I'm just giving you the logistics of this blood feud. And of course, this was a clusterfuck of clusterficity. I don't know, that's not even a word, but I'm trying to find a word.
Crustaceans.
Well, crustaceans, whatever the case may be. But
Clusterfuck of crustaceans.
If you want to talk about the match, you even want to talk about the ending, go ahead, TW. But this is not a 5-star Meltzer Classic. We know this. There's a lot of faux pas, flaws, and, shit that don't make no sense.
A lot of chair shots. This is ECW at its core. Just people giving zero fucks to the thought about their future. And to know that somewhere in Michigan this weekend probably, Sabu will be wrestling again because A, he didn't save his money, and B, he's physically broken from the stuff they did there. But you know what? I think he enjoyed it. Maybe if you asked him if it was worth it, yeah. Did he think he'd probably live this long? Maybe he didn't. I don't know. I know he does a little bit of the drugs. Right. But obviously you're not going to do it if you can't do it. He might be in pain when he's doing it, but he's still doing it. People still want to see him do it. RVD will still go if he can. But I still think RVD doesn't have a skeleton. When he does that drop kick off the top rope where he just kind of one kicks you, it's almost like a flying super kick. He always lands on the other leg, and it looks like it snaps in half. It's like, what's going on? But what I love is Jerry Lawler had heat. Like, they hated this man, and he did the Tommy Dreamer flex.
But wait a minute, just before. I'll just give more credence to what happened within this match. Again, it's a clusterfuck between all four of these guys. But the lights go out, and then once the lights go on again, go ahead, TW.
There's Jerry Lawler. And we didn't even talk about this part. He swore he would never set foot in that building again. So when the lights come off, I'm sitting there going, all right, who's coming back? Who's joining him? Is Al Snow coming out with head? What's going on? And it was Lawler. I'm like, all right, that was well done. And then he helps beat him up. Did an awesome spot where Lawler thinks they got it under control. They got them both in the corner to do chair spots. Lawler's yakking with a fan. They both botched their chair spots, and Tommy and Sandman then do stuff to them in the corner. And Lawler's just like that referee in the damn first match, just clueless to what's going on behind him. And then they grab him, pull the thing off, hit their moves on him. It was well done. Lawler looked like 80s Lawler, man. He was all in. And then the lights go out again when they're ready to do something to Lawler. And that's when Smoky Mountain represent comes in there. And Cornette's there, and they hate him. All I thought is, can you imagine if that happened in AEW? Lawler, or the lights go out and Jim Cornette's in the ring to hit something.
That's the thing I was going to say. You know why people pop for James E. Cornette? Because, again, those are hardcore ECW fans. Like, wait a minute. Jim Cornette agreed to be in Philadelphia with Paul Heyman. He don't like Paul Heyman. He likes money. I'm not saying he likes money. He doesn't like Paul Heyman personally. He doesn't like Paul Heyman's philosophy, but he respected Paul Heyman to a degree. So he agreed to do it for what? Reflection Nights, for the betterment of the business. And this is the spot where I can understand where TW's, let's say, hesitation to work an ECW show happened actually at the end with Jerry the King Lawler with a Singapore cane, and he wailed on Tommy Dreamer's ball sack. And Tommy Dreamer actually said this. It numbed him to the point where he had to get it drained because it pressed, it popped up like a balloon. It popped up like all this shit. But it took Jim Cornette's tennis racket hit to make him like wake up. He almost like went to he did a Mike Legacy, whatever you said. Like I gotta go to sleep. I gotta go to sleep. I'm just like, I'm numb to this shit. But the tennis racket woke him up like, oh, this shit. Now he's feeling the pain of his ball sack and all that stuff. So with that being said, TW, any closing thoughts about this? Because that was the spot I was like, this is why TW does not want to work in ECW, because of a cane shot to the ball sack.
Yeah, but I would have said no, and I just wouldn't have been there. Like, I think there's plenty of guys.
But what if Paul Heyman said, "I'll give you an extra 500, an extra 1,000"?
But why do you have to hit him in the dick? And first of all, Tommy Dreamer, why didn't you wear a cup? Wear a cup.
for the
Maybe
feeling.
Maybe Lawler thought he had a cup on there because he thought he had common sense, but common sense ain't so common. But the power bomb off the top rope, Candido, me and him would have never had a match, or he never would have went over because I wouldn't take it. There's no way I would have taken that move. None.
So that's a no way. And the cane shot is like, maybe I'll do it as long as you got a cup. So you have
I got a cup, but why wouldn't Lawler hit him in the inside of his thigh? Why does he got to hit him right in the dick?
for the effect. The effect.
The fucking hit him on the inside of the thigh. No one's looking that close.
I'm just saying. People sometimes look at it.
You know what's one of the worst things I've ever seen? I saw it live, and I don't know that I've ever watched WrestleMania 3 on video. Okay. Andre the Giant headbutting Hogan in the corner on the floor right before the body slam and the win. Mm-hmm. When he headbutts him, Hogan moves, and he headbutts the post. It is the weakest fucking ever post anything. He just headbutts his hands, and in slow motion, and they're like, you hit the pole. And I'm like, up in the nosebleeds, it looked like you hit the damn pole. But on video, the camera's right there. He never even sniffs the pole. He hits his hands, and in slow motion, and you're just like.
And Kevin Dunn learned his lesson from Vince McMahon, and that's why you see all the moves shaking and all that stuff. That's why you never really see people complaining about a camera shot in WWE, because Vince McMahon trained their cameramen, like, do not show the spot. Do not show the, I guess you could say, the impact, or peel back the curtain of the fakeness, if you will, reflection. Right. So before we close out TW, I can't grade this because I'm biased. I'm going to give it an A, no matter what. A for effort, A plus for execution, A plus for, psychology, A plus because it's ECW. So I am excused from grading. So I'll give it to all because you're fairer, you're balanced, liberal, conservative, liberal, but don't go lower than a C or I'll fuck you up. But anyway, give a grade, please.
I give it an A plus. It's everything. If you're an ECW fan, it's everything you want to see. It's all three matches are stories. There's a story to all three of them. All three of them are good. There's no squash match. Well, I said the Bigelow looked like a squash match in the beginning, but it ends up, it's a very clusterfuck of an ending, but it's a good ending. It made sense. Rick Rude adds to Joey Styles. Joey Styles is, like, you can tell he loves life being there with Rick Rude. Like, he's happy he's not talking to himself. But at the end of the day, it's, if you're an ECW fan and you don't like this episode, then you're not an ECW fan, because it's got everyone you need. It's got the triple threat. It's got the stars of the pillars, if you will, and Sandman, Dreamer, Sabu, and RVD. The only thing missing is Taz, really. The Dudleys maybe, but they're not pillars. The founders, if you will. Paulie's not there. I guess that's missing, but it's good. You can't watch this.
Well, Todd Gordon was.
Oh
there.
My God, we didn't even talk about that. The bump that guy took. Holy shit! First the chair shot, then the damn Sabu leg drop through the table. Like, they fucking killed this. Oh no, that's Herb. Herb's the drug addict, right? Not Gordon. Gordon just stole the money. Or no, Paulie stole it from him.
But I told you that Paul Heyman had his feelings for Todd Gordon because he thought he was the mole, so he's punishing him while he's doing it.
Absolutely killed him. And I just thought, whew.
Did you look at that spot as more? Now with me telling you about the history, because again,
justice. It was D'Lo Brown. Do you know at one point D'Lo Brown, when he was wearing that flak jacket, whenever anybody had like the kangaroo court in the back, if Vince McMahon felt someone needed to be punished, he sent D'Lo out there to frog splash him. Did you know that?
No, I did not know.
Go back and watch him. When he frog splashed guys like Meats and got not Draws. Draws is obviously the elephant in the room. I was saying about that earlier about that power bomb. But anyway, if there was a guy who needed some humbling, Vince McMahon had D'Lo Brown go out and frog splash him. And that's why during that run, D'Lo would just randomly frog splash people that made no sense. It wasn't like they were feuding with the nation. He just would go out and attack somebody and frog splash them, or he wrestled them and then did the frog splash. But that's what this felt like now that you said he thought Gordon was the mole. He was murdered. First in the chair shot, then in the table spot. Just murdered. But again,
so that was a receipt. What's that?
I'm going to go better than the A+, because this, I said I wouldn't want to wrestle there. But to watch this is, to me, a PG-13 version of a normally RRR ECW, where there isn't thumbtacks. There's chairs. There's this. This seems like super indie to me. Like the stuff I was doing, amplified. But no one's throwing people off balconies. No one's doing that stuff that as a fan there that you can't see anyway. How many times you've been to a wrestling show and they did something clear on the other side of the audience, and when you're like, what the fuck am I even here for? I can't even see it, right? And there's not Titantrons like nowadays. So you're just like, man, I'm going to watch this back. I'm going to figure out how to do it and watch it back. But everything is in the ring where it's supposed to be. I didn't even think there was any backstage vignettes or anything like that. They did show a couple clips when Styles was in the ring.
They didn't have the money for that. Or
I'm saying they didn't do like a pre-taped promo in the back or nothing that edited in. They edited in pictures of Sabu, RBD, and Sandman and Dreamer from different places while they talked about them. This is as good. There might be some as good, but this is as good an episode of ECW as you've ever had me watch. It didn't feel amateur. Some of the ones where Styles is introducing it in front of that cage, you can tell that it's post-production, that, you know what I mean? It came off amateurish or low budget. This felt like a wrestling show that could be today. It doesn't feel like some old shit that wouldn't make it today. And everything, and there's not even a title on the line in any of them. It's just good wrestling, good heat, good storytelling, good pacing. Everything's good. There's botches, but I've said this a million times. Botches to me make wrestling look real. There should be botches. How many UFC fights you see a guy going for a kick or something and slip and fucking fall back on his ass and then have to sit there with his feet like a T-Rex because he doesn't want someone to pounce on him. So that adds to the realism. Now, if someone only fucking botches, then yeah, it's time to fucking retrain them. But it's just
that happened in the Pritchard match. So but it is what it is.
Right, but they Pritchard sold those botches like you should. Like, where'd he go? And then timed it, and then they went into their spot, and it was good. They were professionals. This episode is 7 to 10, however many people are there, because there's 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 12. There's 12 people involved in this show that are all professionals. They put the professional wrestling. Unfortunately, on today's wrestling and every promotion, Maxine comes to mind for WWE, and I'm not picking on her, but it's too much too soon, and she's not ready for it, so she's nervous. They even made a reference to it last Monday when Idra, the hell's that little girl with the braids? Isla, whatever. Fuck. The Diamond Mine. Diamond Mine chick.
Oh, Nola Vice or something like that. Who knows?
No, I don't. The Diamond Mine.
Yeah, Nola Vice, the chick with the blonde hair.
Nola Vice is NXT. This chick's with the fucking Creed brothers and
Nile or something. I don't know.
Ivy, that's her name.
There you go.
Ivy made reference. She's like, you're gonna. Oh no, it was Candice LeRae. She said, you're gonna give me advice, and you've had 3 or 4 matches, and I thought that's inside baseball right there. She was, because other chicks went on Twitter and defended her when Twitter was calling her out for botching moves. But anyway, AEW has plenty of people that botch. Who again, the business has gone from. I didn't understand it as a kid. I was upset about it when I tried to be a wrestler. But I remember just reading it as a young kid before I even knew I wanted to be a wrestler. But most WWF guys did not make it there until they were 32, 33 years old because they paid their dues on the indies or the territories and were well-rounded. By the time they got there, they weren't mistakes waiting to happen. And I remember Luger getting there at 32 years old. And I'm like, that's the way it should be. He paid his dues because I still thought of NWA as a territory compared to the show. And Luger gets there in 94 or 93, whatever year it was. 92 and he was 30 something years old. Like, that's how it was. Now you got 17-year-olds wrestling on AEW, and granted they've been wrestling since they were 13 and their dad was a wrestler. You know who I'm talking about. But they're gonna make mistakes, and they're gonna do it in front of 2,000 to 5,000 people live and 400,000 people on TNT. And if you can't handle that, stop watching.
Different mindset, different fandom, and all that stuff. So with that being said, we close.
Oh, I got one thing to say.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Go ahead.
And I know this is we're taping this way ahead of time than normal, but I have been humbled. I have been honored. I have been blown away by Christopher Paul Bruce Winland's request for me to get him an autographed 8x10 of me wrestling. I'm going to do it. I'm going to find a picture that I like, that I think is flattering of me. And I'm going to do that for him because it's so cool that he did that. I'm going to tear up behind these glasses. I have a couple, and I know he didn't see me wrestle, but it's him listening to us. And for anyone else listening to us, we talk about Donnie, we talk about, all the other people, and now Christopher and Joey Coupon. We talk about these guys because we do this. Me and the Professor, we love doing it, or we wouldn't do it because we don't make money. We obviously aren't sponsored. He gets some side money from A-Track, I guess he told me last week, but on the show. But at the end of the day, we do this, and sometimes you wonder if it's just for the sake of us doing it and hanging out once a week. Does anybody really listen? But the guys that do listen, and the girls, it's so awesome to hear back from you because it makes it feel like it's worth it to record it. It's always worth it for me just to spend the hour and a half with Professor, and when Ray chimes in, or JB, who we heard from him this week, thanking us for still talking about him and putting him on the graphic. And Mooch, we don't even hear from. We talk about Travis a lot. So Christopher, you've humbled me. That's so awesome that you asked for that. I'm going to make it happen. And just want to say thank you for even asking because it's cool. But are you gonna do the HBK? You're gonna put the Intercontinental belt by your genitals and do that for Chris? Playgirl style, yeah. Probably not. See, if you would have asked Professor for one, that's what you'd get. So if all of a sudden you slide in his DMs, I'll know, but that's okay. But at the end of the day, I've had two moments that have stood out for my whole life. It's one thing to wrestle and someone come and ask you for an autograph when they just saw you wrestle, but the bottom line is they just saw me wrestle. They don't know me from Adam, so they're just asking me because I was there. But I got recognized at a Tiger game by one. I will never forget that as long as I live. And the dudes were a couple years younger than me and asked me to sign their hat. That blew me away. And then when I was inducted into the Michigan Wrestling Hall of Fame, and I told the story recently where this dude looked like Sam Elliott. I'm signing an autograph for what I think is his granddaughter, and he started talking to me about stuff I did 15 years earlier, and I looked at him and I said, thanks, man, that's pretty cool that you remember that stuff. And he looked at me and said, those are some of the best days of my life. And I literally had to stop myself because I think this dude looks like someone I'd look up to, Sam Elliott, manly man. And he just stopped me dead, and I looked up at him and I said, thank you. I go, they were some of the best days of my life. And it's just two things. And now, Christopher, you've added to the list. Just you flatter me, you humble me. It's so awesome that you even want that, and then you tell me where you're putting it. It's just even more humbling. So, thank you. So hopefully, when this airdrops, you already did it, and now you're just rehashing what was happening. Because again, Chris already knows of the transparency. We record way early, and then when this drops, you'd be like, "Wait a minute, he already did it." But I still gotta have the thing made. It's not like I got a bunch of them hanging around. I'm just saying, just in case. You want one too? Just admit it. Of course, bring them on. I don't care. But anyway, we close on this episode 182 with ECW from July of 1997. What are you gonna do next time, Reflection Nights? I don't know. I think it's time for a what if, TW. Next time we're gonna do a what if. What if we ever made it to 200 episodes? Oh man, that's gonna be a long episode. That's a shot to Donnie. He's like, God damn, it's a what if, and it's mentioning the 200 elusive. No, because that don't count. See, he'd be mad as a motherfucker. But anyway, that's what I said. It would blow him away. He'd be like, damn it. Yeah, it just don't count, Donnie. But anyway, I think we'll do a what if, and I think we'll have to go with one of the monikers of the intro, TW. What if China, Joni Lawler herself, was actually booked to become a WWE World Heavyweight Champion? So we're gonna try to book the impossible, I think. The most impossible thing. This could be a debate, too, because I would not co-sign on that. I'm just saying there was talks about it, so we're going to give a what-if scenario. So get your thinking caps on for that. It's going to be a very difficult what-if because I'm going to try my best and remember certain landscapes of the business. Maybe 99, I might have booked her as a WWE champion. Maybe 2000, maybe 2001. Or maybe if she did not get into cocaine, I would book her in 2002, 2003. But anyway, neither here nor there. That being said, she was IC champ, right? Yes, she was. But anyway, TW, give out those socials so we can get out of here. I gave him a brain teaser, so just do the job that you. Oh, yeah. So, the Pro Wrestling Coalition Network sponsors us at PW Network at podbean.com. Also, Hami Media Group is there at Hami Media Group at podbean.com, as well as channelattitude.com. Our show is on X at PW Reflection. I talked about JB. He's at DP1JB. Hit him up and tell him to do a show with us, because it's Vince McMahon, Kiss My Ass Club's wearing off, as Professor said. And also, Travis, he just took his family on a nice little trip to Florida. Got to see Hulk Hogan's store. I don't know if he ended up getting to see Hogan. I don't think he did, or he'd still be talking about it. But his son got to see the Hogan statue, the belts, the pomp, the circumstance. You can find him at Nuts and Bolts PW, BOELTZ PW. Big Ray, you can find him everywhere on social media. Big Ray Hernandez, on all of it. I'm not even going to tell you what they are, because if you're on it, just search Big Ray Hernandez. You'll find him, and you can catch him every Wednesday live on the Next Level podcast. You can find me on Instagram and X at TommyWonder19. You can find me on the other X and TikTok at TheTommyWonder. Facebook.com/TommyWonder. Snapchat is #Wonder. And you can see Big Vito and Noel on their TikTok at Big Vito Brand for them. And back to you, Professor.
And you can follow me on my X at PWSPRF, that's PWSPROF, and this ever gets uploaded by that slow-ass motherfucker 8-Track Brown. This will be on the PWSO YouTube networks. And speaking of which, follow him, the king of the reactions, at the number 8, TREC Brown, and of course follow Billy Ray Valentine at Obi-Wan Yenomi. Again, next time we're going to do a what if, a very hard what if. What if China was booked to become the WWE World Heavyweight Champion? With that being said, I'm the Professor. That's Mr. Wonderful, Dum Dum Do Idiots on the Iron Stomach One. Woo! Tommy Wonder saying good night. We'll see you next time here at PWR Podcast at the Hami Media Group at podbean.com. Peace!
EC Dub! EC Dub!